Hey guys, this is Coach Chuck from Integrated Martial Athletics, and first and foremost, thank you all for such an amazing response and amazing reception to our Subway Fight Breakdown video. I'm glad you're getting a lot of value of that. We'll link the long form and the short in the description of this video as well, because we're going to continue on that. We're going to talk about things that really no other martial arts schools focus on, and that's the awareness, the pre-fight, the fight, and then the post-fight. So stay with me to the end of this video, and we're going to give you a simple force escalation checklist that you can memorize in 30 seconds that's going to help you make the right decisions if it ever comes down to it. So stay to the end. All right, so when we're talking about the unfortunate subject of violence, we have to be real. Violence doesn't send a warning and doesn't care who you are, even what neighborhoods or anything like that. It's just a fact of human life, and it's ugly, random, and uninvited. So most people live in denial that it can't or won't ever happen to me. And you know, like one of my friends always says, hope is not a plan. So we can't live that with our head in the sand that it will never or couldn't possibly ever happen. So that mindset really is dangerous, because when something does happen, now any kind of emergency doesn't have to be, random acts of violence, that without the proper mindset and the proper focus, you're going to freeze. So let's look at a few things here. Now, when we talk about mindset, we're not talking about paranoia or being tactical, mall ninja on things here. It really comes down to awareness. So here's what we're going to do today in this video. Now again, stay to the end because we have something great for you on force escalation. So managing awareness is that you're going to be mentally prepared for whatever's going to come your way in a potentially bad situation. So first, let's talk about being ready. So what does that mean? Now, you can say to people, hey, are you ready? And they're going to say things like, I'm born ready. And those are going to be the kind of bros that are like, yo, I see red, and people start hitting the floor. Okay, so let's slow the roll, cool guy, and let's actually talk about what being ready is. Now, I've been blessed to train with some of the best martial art trainers in the world for the past 30 years. And specifically Harley Elmore and Tom Kyer. They were instrumental in teaching me what I'm about to lay out for you, and really are eternally grateful for this knowledge. And we did amazing work as part of SOG Tactical Group, STG, teaching these kind of breakdowns to real life superheroes. So two on Harley and two on Tom. Big shout out, eternally thankful for you. And this readiness matrix is from those guys. So what does it mean to be ready? Ready has three components: willingness, preparedness, and awareness. They have to always be together, because if one of those pegs is missing, it will all collapse. You can be aware, you can follow all the steps that we're going to break down in this video, and you can see the problem happening. But if you're not prepared in some way, you have some modicum of a skill set to act, or you're not willing to answer the bell, it's not going to work. Conversely, you can be willing as all hell, but not be aware of what's happening, or worse, not even prepared for what's happening, and still going to fail. Or you can be prepared to the nines and willing as F, but if you didn't realize something is happening, it's still going to fail. So the big three again, guys, is willingness, preparedness, and awareness. All three have to be present in that. So next thing we want to talk about, and we'll break it into, is Jeff Cooper's color codes, and finally Boyd's OODA loop. I know that sounds nerdy, and people are ready to start turning off that video going, oh, there's no violence videos? No, not in this one. We're going to show you how not to become a statistics and how to walk away. So remember, having a protective mindset is not about hating what's in front of you or the opponent in front of you. It's loving what's behind you and what's alongside you. And every one of us deserves to go home at the end of the day to our families and our loved ones. So having that protective mindset is one of the greatest aspects of love that you guys can have. Okay, so the first thing I want to break down for you guys is the Cooper's color code. Now, the color code is a mental readiness system. It's not tactics, it's not gear, it's about state. So it came from Colonel Jeff Cooper, decorated Marine firearms instructor, and it helps people to shift their awareness when things start to go. So how it works. So the first of the colors is white. So the first color code is white, and that is you are head down, headphones in, totally unaware of any surroundings at all. You are cut off from the world. Sensory deprivation tank, you might as well be in a coma. That is condition white. Condition yellow is the relaxed alert. And now this is casually scanning the area. You know where exits are and noticing people and vehicles. You're switched on, you're present. To use a very new pop psychology term, you're present, you're mindful. You're in the moment. Now, orange is focused alert. Now, something catches your attention. So let's talk about this for a minute. Like, what would catch your attention? Everything that's going to be an anomaly in your area should start to draw your eye. So I'm from New York, and we have a different rhythm of life here. And the rhythm of life in New York City is different than the rhythm of life in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So what that means is things move faster as a baseline in New York City. So if we're looking at patterns, if you're used to people moving quick at that New York pace, and all of a sudden someone's moving extremely slowly and deliberately, that would be an anomaly in the situation. As is wrong dress. And now wrong dress, before people jump in the comments, meaning if it is a 90-degree day in July and you're wearing a big overcoat and long pants, gloves, and a hat, that is an anomaly because that doesn't fit what's useful or even normal in that scenario. Cars that are driving slow, parked in odd spots. A bag, of course, left unattended. These are examples of anomalies in a situation that should now put you into that orange color code where you're like, I am now focused and alert. Now, the red is you're committed. You know there's something is happening or something's about to happen, and you have your metaphorical line in the sand, whether you're going to be breaking out if things take a turn or having to engage if something takes a turn and it's as be your only recourse. You're ready to act. So red would mean you're ready to act. Now the final in the Cooper color code is black, and that means it's on. You are now physically engaged. We're now in the actual fight. So again, to recap that, white, yellow, orange, red, and black. And the key point I want you to remember on the Cooper color code is that it's not about paranoia at all. I can't stress that enough. It's about managing your awareness so you're mentally ready and mentally aware for the situation. Now let's talk about applying Jeff Cooper's color code to the PAID cycle. Now PAID is an acronym that means perceive, analyze, decide, and execute. And that system now turns your awareness into action. So P for the perceive, you'd still be in your yellow aspect of the Cooper's color code. You're scanning, you're noticing environments, exit people. And again, you're not mad dogging people. You're not just staring creepily at people. You're just aware that these two people are walking their dog. You know, this car just circled the block, just as there. You're just aware of your surroundings. You're in the moment. Now, A in PAID is analyze. That's your orange color code, where now you've spotted something that's off. Now you test it. Is that person lost? Are they staring me down? Are they looking at something super intently? So now you're just focused on, hey, what's going on there? The D in PAID is now decide. That's the mental trigger. If a line gets crossed, you act. And now act could be the best case scenario for anything is you remove yourself from the scene. if at all possible, or make moves that will eventually let you escape the scene if at all possible. You know, again, thinking about like even if we're driving, hey, if that car is following me one more block, I'm going to change course. I'm going to go a different way. So now E in the PAID is execute, and that would be your code black. So the line is crossed, you take action. Whether it's leaving, like we talked about, in red was getting ready to do something, so you're getting ready to exit, and black was where you take the exit, or it's the game is on, where it may become a physical altercation. The key in black is not to hesitate. So just recap, the PAID cycle is perceive, analyze, decide, and execute, and that will correspond to Cooper's color code. What this helps you do is be proactive as opposed to reactive. So most people stay reactive. They're always behind the beat, behind the threat, or always playing catch up. PAID, this cycle, the PADE, puts you back in control, where you're not reacting to the bad guy's timeline. You're going to be disrupting that timeline to take action on your own. All right, let's look at something a little bit deeper that's going to be circular. Whereas the PAID cycle is linear, it takes you from point A to point B. What we're going to describe now is actually a continuous loop. This is Boyd's OODA loop. Now there's a lot of material out there on this, and it is incredibly interesting. If you're a serious martial artist, combatives trainer, police officer, fill in the blank, it really does behoove you to look into Boyd's teaching. We're going to give a thumbnail print on this because this is an inch wide and 3 miles deep on Boyd's study. The OODA loop, OODA, is observe, orient, decide, and act. Now again, unlike PAID, the OODA is a continuous loop, not a linear progression. So if you're going to look at the observe, that is your yellow-orange if we're going to make a comparison or a move along with the PAID cycle. So when you observe, you are in your yellow and orange, scanning environment, spotting your anomalies. Orient, which means you will now see where you are in regards to the situation, literally where you are in time and space in that situation. So that would be your orange. You're now analyzing the context. Does this behavior fit the environment? Or is it a threat? So you, again, where you are in the environment. D is red, is now you're choosing your response. Am I creating distance, change direction, or am I going to engage? Act is then your black in the PAID cycle. You next execute immediately, and then you'll loop back to observe and keep adapting as things change. Now, the faster you're able to run through that loop, the more you get inside the decision cycle of the opponent. You overwhelm them and interrupt their patterning before they get to put their plan into action. Now again, when I say you're interrupting them, it doesn't mean you're engaging. This isn't a Batman film. You're not the Punisher. If you can interrupt what they're doing and you can leave, that's a successful interruption. That's a successful victory. And that's a successful defeat of the bad guy's plans. Now, how does this all work together? Now again, we haven't talked about any physical concepts at all. This is where most martial arts trainers, coaches fail on these things. It's not about arm locks. It's not about this knife disarm. Fill in the blank of whatever is out there on the interwebs. It's about using the color code, again, as a staple of mental readiness. Using the PAID cycle as your linear process for decision making. And then the OODA loop as a continuous adaptation loop to watch the scenario as it changes. And together, it creates a system of awareness to decide and then act. And now would apply your physical martial arts skills if it's appropriate, or most of the time appropriately, to leave the situation. Because again, you have to get back to your loved ones. And if you are traveling or you're with your loved ones, you are now the agent in charge of your personal security detail. So your first move will always be remove your VIPs, your wife, your husband, your kids, your friends, away from that potentially dangerous scenario. So your brain isn't going to be scrambling for options, is executing what you've already rehearsed. All right, guys, you've made it to the end of the video, and as promised, I have something for you, the force escalation ladder. And this is how you scale your responses on how the situation demands it or what the variables are. So the first thing is mouth and feet. What does that mean? I want to try to diffuse the situation verbally, and my feet, I mean, I'm going to leave. I'm going to talk my way out of this, and I'm going to get out. Number two is mouth, hands, and then feet. If I can't talk my way out of it and it escalates, I will go to my hands or legs or whatever my physical abilities are, and then go to my feet because I want to get out of there. So it'll be, I want to talk. If I have to engage, I want to engage long enough to stop what's happening, and then I want to get out as quickly as I can. Number three is mouth, hands, feet, and if they're still continuing, we have to go to a weapon system. And now a weapon system is going to be weapons of opportunity or weapons that you're carrying. So mouth, we're still talking. I want to go hands to neutralize as quickly as possible and get away. But if the threat continues to pursue and continues, we have to look at a higher order of action. And finally, number four for you guys, mouth, hands, feet, your primary. And if the primary fails, you have to go to your tertiary weapon, whatever that is. And if I'm talking about things from a military perspective, you always have your primary, which would be your rifle, and your secondary, which would be your pistol, your personal defense weapon. Think about the main one goes down, you have to go to your secondary. For the civilian concealed carry holder, that may be your pistol, which is your primary, failed, and you might have to go to your blade, because I know you've been watching my Patreon, getting your skills in order. So, quick recap. Number one, the force escalation is mouth and then feet. Talk and then leave. Number two, mouth, hands, then feet, which is you're going to talk, engage enough to neutralize, and then get back, get on the feet and run. Number three is mouth, hands, feet, and then primary weapon of some sort. That could be an improvised weapon or a conventional weapon. And finally, number four is mouth, hands, feet, primary, and the primary fails, you have to then go to tertiary, which again could be a weapon of opportunity that you're finding, or it is going to be a conventional one that you have as a first responder, as a police officer, concealed carry holder, whatever your carry may be. I want you guys to think of the force escalation 1, 2, 3, and 4 as a ladder. We always start at the lowest rung and then climb as fast as the threat demands it. The fight is always the worst time to try to figure out what you're going to do and what you're willing to use. So decide way before by rehearsing the force escalation ladder. There is 3 stages to all this. Pre-fight, which you are in right now. You are now find the cause of your own ignorance. You clicked on this video because you think that you're not aware of situations. So you know what? You're like, I'm going to get some training on how to be more aware. That's your first step. You're now in pre-fight. Awareness leads to getting physical skill sets. And it doesn't matter. I have my opinions on what would be the best striking systems and the best grappling systems, the best weapon system that you should be looking into. But get physically trained. And physically training also means being in shape to do whatever is going to be necessary under duress. So that's all part of your pre-fight. The fight itself is your center lane, and that will take the least amount of time. And finally, something that no one talks about is the post-fight, is what happens after the fight. Because things are not happening like the movies where you ride off into the sunset or you high-five your buddy, or all that. There is going to be some pretty complicated legal ramifications, even if you're in the right, whether it be criminal or civil suits. And there could even be medical situations that you're going to be dealing with on scene or even later. So the post-fight breaks down what happens after. Thank you very much for spending the time with me. I hope you took good notes. Please, as always, like, share, and subscribe. Ask questions in the comments. We'll do our best to get back to you on those. And definitely check out our Patreon for more in-depth training that's going to go outside the regular schmegular martial arts stuff that you're going to see. Thank you so much.